I'm Lea Lane, an award-winning travel writer and author of Places I Remember, Tales, Truths, Delights from 100 Countries. On this podcast, we share conversations with travelers about fascinating destinations and memorable experiences around the world. South Korea is famous for kimchi, K-pop, K-dramas, tech giant Samsung, automotive manufacturer Hyundai, Korean fried chicken, Korean barbecue, and Gangnam Style. But there's so much more. North Korea is sometimes referred to as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and South Korea as the Republic of Korea. And of course, there's the DMZ, no man's land, part of a military border between North and South Korea. Countries technically still at war, but we'll just refer to South Korea, where people can visit, as Korea. The Korean Peninsula is in East Asia, and the southern half is generally green, hilly countryside dotted with cherry trees and centuries-old Buddhist temples, plus coastal fishing villages, subtropical islands, and high-tech cities such as Seoul, the capital. That's our focus, and that's the country we love. Our guest is Patrice Henry, marketing manager of the Korea Tourism Organization's New York office. Welcome, Patrice. I'm delighted that you're sharing your expertise and love of Korea with us.
Thank you for hosting me, Lea, and I look forward to sharing our love for Korea in this podcast also.
Great. I know that Korean culture is greatly influenced by its neighbors, China and Japan. Can you tell us a bit about the connection throughout Korea's history?
Well, with a fascinating history, I must mention that for many centuries, South Korea was an independent kingdom. But after 1905, the country was ruled by the Japanese. After Japan surrendered to the USA after the Second World War in 1945, Korea gained independence again. But the country soon was split between South Korea, which is largely supported by the US, and North Korea. What I can say, Lea, is that Korea is rich in history, culture, and preserved it well for over 5,000 years.
Well, let's take a tour of Korea, starting with the capital, Seoul, a city of about 10 million, filled with both historical and modern pleasures, and just a few hours away by high-speed train from most of the best attractions of Korea. What places do you suggest we visit in Seoul?
Well, Lea, I have lots of places, but just to say, you said 10 million people, but I can add to this, 10 million friendly people in Seoul. And just to say, it's vibrant, it's exciting, and it's a city that never sleeps. There are endless attractions to visit in Seoul. And if you're heading to Seoul for the first time, you're in for a one-of-a-kind adventure. I have handpicked just a few. And did you know, Lea, that there are 5 royal palaces in Seoul?
Yes, I absolutely do, because I visited them and they were glorious. So tell us about them.
So yes, and there are 5 of them. And so experiencing one or all of the 5 is a must, right? And if a little secret, if you wear a hanbok, which is the traditional costume, you can enter the palaces for free.
I noticed that. When I was there were the most beautiful costumes. And I thought, well, I didn't know if people just wore them as tradition, but now I realize it was because they saved money. That was interesting.
Yes, it's twofold. It's because they save money and it's a part of their tradition, right? So besides the palaces, then you have the time of your life at Lotte World. That's the world's largest indoor amusement park with an indoor theme park and an outdoor amusement park. Also surrounded by a hotel and a large shopping complex. It is perfect for families and couples. And next, for a taste of Korean traditional culture and architecture, head over to the Bukchon Hanok Village. And Lea, I'm not too sure if you got a chance to experience Bukchon Hanok Village.
Yes, because tell us about the Hanoks. That's a very interesting part of Korea. Tell us about that.
Yes, this preserved area of several ancient neighborhoods gives you a feel of what it was like to live in Korea 600 years ago. It's right in central Seoul. You can immerse in the culture. You could experience the restaurants, the cafes, and you still have people living in those little hammocks. They're the traditional type Korean houses, the thatched roofs, but well maintained and preserved.
Yes, I remember walking. It was a hilly area and it was very steep, but beyond you could see the skyline of Seoul. So you had the combination of the old homes
And the new.
tradition and the most glorious futuristic kind of skyline. It was quite something to be there. It's a must, as you said.
Yeah, that's correct. And I could also touch for Seoul. One other thing I have to recommend is the North Seoul Tower, because this is rising almost 500 meters above the city and it provides dramatic views. So you're in Seoul and a cable car would whisk you up to the side of the mountain to the base of the tower. And from here, you can go up in the tower and visit one of the 4 observation decks, one of which has a rotating restaurant.
Is that Namsen Park there, which
Yes.
Which you can hike? It was very surprising because in the middle of this very modern metropolis, there's miles and miles of hiking trails and this gorgeous, again, a view of the area. It was quite a surprise to go there.
That's correct.
Yes. Let me just ask you a little bit more about the palaces, which you mentioned in the beginning. There are 5 of them. The changing of the guard. Tell me about that. Where is that in regard to
that one is at Gyeongbokgung Palace, which is considered the largest palace of all. There are certain times of the week when you can go and visit the palace and experience the changing of the guards. And this is one of the experiences that you should not miss.
We were at a hotel that overlooked it, and so we could see it from above, and it was quite something from that angle as well. But again, it's something many people don't realize, that if you time it right, you can not only go to the palaces and go to the gardens and the most beautiful old buildings, and there's a museum and all kinds of wonderful history. And then you can see a changing of the guard as well. It's quite a nice afternoon to spend in Seoul.
Yes, and I always say that, Lea, where else can you leave your hotel and step right into a palace?
Well, not bad at all. Now, let me ask you, Seoul is the hub of Korea, but tell us about some of the places we should visit further outside the capital.
Well, definitely Busan. Busan is the largest port city and is home of, let's say, majestic mountains, white sand beaches, including Haeundae and Gwangali Beach. I'm not too sure, many people know this, but the beaches in Busan are amazing. Busan is also known for the hot springs, and you can enjoy some of the best, freshest seafood here in the world. Lobster, shrimp, fish, you name it. Any seafood you can think of.
So I know when I went there, I noticed a village that was on the cliff and it came down to the sea. It kind of reminded me of Santorini in Greece. That's very lovely to walk. Is the name of that Gamecheon?
The Gamcheon. Gamcheon Cultural Village. And that was another one, a gem in Busan. And that's a tiered residential community built up the side of the mountain. And Lea, you're right. It's a work of art with astonishing colors and views.
Tell me about Jeonju, the historic.
Okay, Gyeongju is a smaller city near Busan, but a definite highlight, especially for those interested in Korean's ancient history, the art, and the architecture. This is where my favorite UNESCO site is, the Bulguksa Temple.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so this is where my favorite UNESCO site, the Bulguksa Temple, is located. It's also where travelers come and visit some of the most ancient royal burial tombs.
Interesting. How far back did they go? Do you know? Way back.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to get out to a national park, there's a Yosemite of Korea, Korea's first national park. It has over 1,500 animal species, over 1,000 kinds of plants. And I remember there's 2 Buddhist temples inside the park. One is the Temple of 100 Pools, because there are ponds all around it. And then a cable car will take you up the mountain. It's about 4 hours from Seoul by bus or 3 hours by car. It's really a beautiful outside setting, and I highly recommend it. Let's go to the DMZ. Everybody knows about that. It's the demilitarized zone, the border between North and South Korea. It's heavily guarded, and the area is about 4 kilometers wide. The closest town is Panmunjom. I can talk about it because I was there, so I can just tell them.
We would talk about, in the north, we share boundaries with North Korea, which is separated by the demilitarized zone.
So I went to the DMZ. It's not a long drive from downtown Seoul, and they have tours, and they take you around to a gift shop and a conference room, which straddles the military demarcation line. And then there are tunnels underneath where you can visit. And you can step over the border into North Korea inside a room called the cross-border room. So it was very interesting. But what was most interesting to me was while we were there and we were in the bus and we were going to one of the sites, people came into the bus very quickly and said, "You've got to leave. You must leave right now." But it is something that I recommend if you like history, because you do feel the history of the Korean War and feel how close the two countries, the two areas are to each other. Patrice, what are some Korean foods to be sure to eat?
Oh, I could list a whole lot of Korean food because the food in South Korea is so incredible and unique. There's the kimchi, the bibimbap, and bulgogi.
Well, tell us kimchi. Tell us what they are.
Kimchi is fermented cabbage, and they've been recorded over 200 different types of kimchi, and that can be more. Jeju black pork, I experienced that, and they cook the black pork right in front of you. It's the best tasting black pork anywhere in the world. The other one that I should mention is the Buddhist temple cuisine, only real vegan option. And throughout Korea, there are these Buddhist temples where you can explore the teaching of the monks, and you could spend a half a day, you can spend the overnight or 2 days just to immerse yourself in the temple stay experience.
Interesting.
And I always say this, Lea, that, when you experience Korean ribs in the US and you go to Korea and you experience it, it's 10 times tastier.
Well, I can tell you that my guide, when I was there, he was going to take me to this very nice restaurant. And I said, "Well, I want real local food." He says, "Well, I can take you to my local fried chicken place. It's not very fancy, but it's where I go." And he drove us to this little back street place, and it was superb. And I know people are beginning to discover it all over the world. At the time, I was really, really impressed with it. Also, he took us to his own local Korean barbecue where you barbecue yourself. And a lot of the cities around the world now have restaurants where you can barbecue your own food, Korean barbecue places. And that's a lot of fun.
True.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Delicious.
And even so, just to say, the dining experiences, in Korea can range from the local pubs, as you say, to the Michelin-starred cuisine. So there's so many options, and you're never disappointed when you experience the meals in Korea.
Let me just ask, the lodging is varied. You have many, many fine hotels. We stayed at the Four Seasons in Seoul, which is in the business district. It's away from the crowded Gangnam area, but there are so many wonderful hotels. But I'm interested, is there lodging where it's the local, more traditional lodging where people can feel historic, like a ryokan in Japan? Tell us about it.
Well, there is a wide array of accommodation throughout Korea. There are the hanok, which is the traditional Korean style bed and breakfast. And those are must experiences while in Korea. I know in Incheon, there's one major hanok stay, which I would definitely recommend. What I've been told is when you sleep at the hanok, it's the best sleep you would have experienced throughout any vacation. The floors are heated throughout the winter months, so you actually feel like you're a queen or a king throughout your experience at the hanok stay.
Well, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. I know I went to a place in Seoul called Korea House, where they had traditional dinners. You sat on the floor and it was traditional food and there was dance shows. I don't know if there was a place to stay there, but that was a wonderful experience in the evening. I highly recommend that. And I would love to go back and stay and feel like a king or a queen.
We would love to take you back, Leah. Just when you're ready, you say it, and we'll definitely take you back to Korea.
Well, I looked up some of the customs. I just want to ask you if any of these sound familiar, that you accept things using your two hands. Is that a custom rather than one hand?
Yes, that is correct.
How about, I know you take your shoes off before entering someone's house. That's very understandable.
That's definitely a custom that has not changed.
How about using your palm when calling a taxi? Is that the way to do it?
But it's
Palms up?
changing. It's changing a lot now, especially there's still some customs, most people, we go to Korea and you raise your hands, but usually if you're at a hotel, you arrange a taxi with the concierge service.
And then I read of something, you don't write someone's name in red ink. Is that still true?
I've heard that. Even here at the office, we always use a black ink pen.
Okay. Just asking. It sounds interesting. I love customs. That's one of the ways to feel like you're traveling and to understand cultures. So it's fun to talk about some of the customs always. Well, the name of the podcast is Places I Remember. And I'll start with a memory of Korea. I remember I was planning to go to Pyeongchang, where the 23rd Winter Olympic Games were held in 2018. And it was the previous fall. And I was so excited. They were going to take me up there. I was going to see the White Tiger mascot and look at the venue. But on the way up, and this was in the fall, it started to snow. And I really, really wanted to get there. But on the other hand, it started to become a blizzard. So I was really torn. And the driver really wanted to get me there. And I got scared. So we turned back. And it turned out to be one of the worst blizzards ever in the fall. So I never got to see the White Tiger. But I think, it's one of the lessons of travel that you can't always plan what's going to happen. And sometimes you just have to go with your gut. So I have a sad feeling about that, but it's a memory that maybe I'll come back sometime and visit the venue
yes,
later.
Leah, we have to definitely take you back to Korea.
Now, can you share, Patrice, one of your special memories of Korea?
I have many special memories, Leah, but one such memory was in Jeju Island. And I'm not too sure if you got to experience Jeju Island.
No, I didn't. I wish I did. I know it's
Oh
wonderful.
my gosh. So Jeju Island is the largest island in the nation. And it's a very popular tourist destination among Koreans and foreigners. It's paradise and the perfect place for nature lovers. Pristine beaches, breathtaking waterfalls. And a lot of people would not know this, but there are several waterfalls in Jeju Island. It's great for outdoor enthusiasts, and there's so much to do and see.
Is that where they have lava tubes? I've heard about those.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh. So the Manjangul Cave in Korea is one of the attractions in Jeju Island, that is. It's actually a World UNESCO Heritage Site. So you can go and experience the stalagmites and stalactites. And then I could go on and on in terms of the hiking experiences throughout Jeju Island. But one of my special memories of Jeju Island is the Haenyeo, which is the sea woman. And they catch seafood for a living with only a knife while holding their breath. Some pretty much 80 years plus. And they free dive down to 30 feet for minutes, depending on their experience. And you can still see some of these, we call them sea mermaids, at work and learn about their history and culture in the Haenyeo Museum on Jeju Island. For me, this was one of the most memorable experiences in Korea, Leah.
It sounds wonderful. I will have to definitely go back to that. That reminds me of the pearl divers of Japan. There are other women who do this. It's amazing. How long do you think they can go under the water?
I am not too sure how long, but I know when I was there, I pretty much experienced 1 over 10 minutes.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Thank you so much, Patrice Henry, Marketing Manager of the Korea Tourism Organization's New York office, for enlightening us about your home country. We do love Korea.
Thank you, Leah.
Thanks for listening to our award-winning podcast. We've recorded over 100 episodes of Places I Remember, so follow us on any podcast app. And new monthly episodes are also on YouTube with gorgeous video. My book, Places I Remember, is available in print and Kindle, and I read the audio version. Follow my travel writing at Forbes.com. Contact me at the links in the show notes or on my website, placesiremember, lealane.com, and keep making your own travel memories.